What's good? Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am Chase Sr. If we don't answer your question on this upcoming mailbag, be sure to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Sr. and simply slide in my DMs. Which team is going to have the balls to trade for Damian Lillard? I hope you have the balls to clean up your balls, and you can get 20% off by doing so with the best men's grooming products thanks to our friends at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com/chat, and you're able to get that deal. Coach Dreadhead, appreciate you watching the show and DMing me on Instagram. We've talked a lot of good hoops of late. Dame time and Nasir Little to the 76ers for Ben Simmons, Maxey, and the number 28 pick. I'm not sure that gets it done on the Sixers side. I think the Sixers have to give up more. The trade that I had proposed was Ben Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, and Matisse Thybulle. Thybulle, third-team all-defensive guy. Ben Simmons, first-team all-defense. Tyrese Maxey, I thought, was a steal in the 20s of last year's NBA draft. I'm just not sure that Simmons, Maxey, and pick number 28, which really doesn't have a ton of value, gets that deal done. I think you'd have to add a little bit more to the package if you're Philly. What up, Rainbow Cal? Mavericks record prediction. Without making a big splash, with this team is currently constructed, it's going back to an 82-game season. Let's say the Mavs can win 50 games. When you have Luka Doncic, you should be able to compile a lot of wins. This is a guy who is a superstar in the league. He's definitely a top 10 guy right now, in my opinion, bordering on being a top 5 guy. They need to make some moves to make Luka happy without making moves as of right now. As we sit here, let's say the Mavs win around 50 games. Rogue Brothers, would Beverly in 2 seconds be enough to get Satoransky? Thomas Satoransky of the Chicago Bulls. I don't hate Thomas Satoransky. I actually think he's a pretty solid player. I think that would be enough. The Bulls get back Patrick Beverly. They're trying to win now. That's why they made that trade for Nikola Vucevic. They have Zach LaVine. I like Kobe White. You get Beverly and kind of gives you just a different defensive mentality. I think that would be enough. Randall CD. Odds the 76ers land Kyle Lowry. I would love it. I think Kyle Lowry has a skill set that the Sixers certainly need. And I think he brings intangibles that the Sixers need. I think this franchise is somewhat soft. They don't have a leader. Late in games when it gets tight, especially in the playoffs, we've seen them crumble. Joel Embiid included, even though he puts up monster numbers. I think Kyle Lowry is a guy who's an absolute dog. He's a guy who's been around the block. He's won an NBA championship. He's from North Philly. He went to Villanova right outside of Philly. Has a creation element to his game that the Sixers desperately need. I understand he's like 35 years old and he's going to demand a lot of money. It might have to be a sign and trade for this deal to actually happen for Lowry to sign with Philly. I would really, really like it if you give up Simmons. Kyle Lowry is one of the most marquee free agents out there on the free agency market. Where do you think he's going to sign? I don't think he goes back to the Raptors. I actually think they should draft Jalen Suggs with pick number 4 in the upcoming draft, which is less than 2 weeks away. It's a team like the Lakers or the Clippers going to be in play for Lowry. Maybe even the Sixers as well. A lot of suitors expected to be all in on Lowry. Move ahead in this mailbag with this question from Chase Wyman. Who do you think Miami will go for this offseason? There are some reports that they could be on the list of trade destinations for Damian Lillard. So I think the Heat are in play, not just because of those types of reports, but also because the Miami Heat are always aggressive. This is just Pat Riley's nature. This is what Eric Spoelstra does in that tandem with Pat Riley. They're always going all in to try to put on the court a championship-level roster. And in terms of trade packages for Dame, you can give up Tyler Hero. You can bring back Duncan Robinson and find a way to include him in that deal. Bam Adebayo as well. It's giving up a lot, but you have to give up a lot to get back one of these generational superstars like Dame. Dom Towney, Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, pick 7 and 14 for Pascal Siakam, Chris Boucher, and Fred VanVleet. By the way, the other day, I meant Tyrell Terry. Okay. Yeah, some people were in the comments, and they're like, these guys are NBA casuals because they didn't know who Terry was. I'm like, well, can we clarify what the actual name is? Jason Terry ain't playing in the league anymore, right? So it can get kind of confusing. Terry Rozier, another guy who could be classified as Terry. This is a pretty intriguing trade package. I'm not going to lie, Tom Towney. I would like to see Andrew Wiggins go back home to Canada, to be the Maple Jordan, which is what everybody has coined him as. And Pascal Siakam on the Warriors, I think he'd fit pretty well. A lot of people like to say that Ben Simmons and Pascal Siakam wouldn't really work because Draymond's on that roster. But if you have Simmons or Siakam, or maybe even Green, playing a small ball five, I think you can get away with that. Warriors also brought back Kevon Looney at a very affordable price. So for the Toronto Raptors to continue to rebuild, they'd be able to get back Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, picks number 7 and 14, but also they have a couple of first-round picks as well, especially that pick at number 4. Pop Johnson, better record next year, Mavericks or the Sixers? I'm going with the Mavericks. Wow. Yeah, producer Sam is a Mavs fan. I'm from the Philly area. I'm going with the Mavs. I think Luka Doncic gives you a more sustainable model to win games, and I think you can lean on him more so than you can Joel Embiid. And who knows what the hell is going to happen with the Sixers, right? Because are they going to have Ben Simmons? Are they going to have Tobias Harris? What's the makeup of this team? I'm going better record, Dallas Mavericks. Speaking of the Philadelphia 76ers, Ben Simmons is afraid to shoot the ball. I don't want you to be afraid to trim up your ball hair, because if it gets hairy down there, it gets really scary for your lady. And you can solve all of this with the brand new Lawnmower 4.0 and get 20% off and free shipping on this product by going to manscaped.com/chat. Easy as that. The technology out of this thing, which looks as though it was built at a Transformers or in a lab, is pretty fascinating. 4 interchangeable blades. It has a light on it so you can kind of see what you're doing, or if you want to go down into the nether region. I love variety and versatility in my life with basically everything that I do. Lawnmower 4.0 has versatility to it. You can use it down below. You can change up the guard, cut up your chest hair, your beard, your hair. And it's on sale right now, $71.99. You get 20% off and free shipping by going to manscaped.com/chat. That link is in the description as well as the comment section of this video. And intern Ryan is throwing that link in the live chat for those of you kicking it with us here live. Mailbag continues with this question from Vincent Sorletti. What it do, my dude? Who is the most injury-prone player in the NBA if Embiid stays healthy this year? Will he become a superstar for the Sixers? Embiid's already a superstar, so we don't have to worry about that. As for injury-prone players, Embiid is in that conversation. Kawhi Leonard has to be in that conversation as well after that partially torn ACL. I mean, the injuries really go back to his career with the San Antonio Spurs. You know, other players who get injured quite frequently. You know, I don't know. I mean, Joel Embiid and Kawhi Leonard, certainly the ramifications there in terms of their injuries have such a huge impact on their respective teams. So I'd put those two guys in that topic of conversation. This is kind of unrelated, but like if Markelle Fultz never hurt his shoulder and then tore his ACL, I think the dude would have been a stud. He was the consensus number 1 pick in the 2017 class for me. What the hell happened with the shoulder? We'll never know. Gary Sanderson, do you think Lauri Markkanen could be the Jeremy Grant kind of guy where he gets a lot of money possibly from the T-Wolves? Lauri Markkanen is going to get paid, and he's going to be a restricted free agent, which I think could increase his price tag, because if another team in the NBA offers him a deal, it's up to the Bulls to match that deal if they want to bring him back. And if they don't match it, he's free to sign with that other team in free agency. I think the writing is on the wall as far as Markkanen's future with the Bulls because they traded for Vucevic. These two guys are similar players. They're not fantastic defensively. They're floor stretchers at the 4 or 5. They can both play both depending on which lineups you trot out there. I like Markkanen as a player. He's still really young, somewhat inconsistent for me, but I do think he's going to go elsewhere in free agency. Altered Sports with this question, Ben Simmons to the Bulls, is that okay? It could be okay. From the Sixers standpoint, could they get back Zach LaVine? I think the Sixers would have to add another player in that deal in order to trade for Zach LaVine and part ways with Ben Simmons. From the Bulls standpoint, I think Simmons could fit on the roster if Levine especially is there. I just think Simmons, because he hasn't developed his offensive game at all, he's actually regressed from when he came into the league, which is a shame. That's on him for not putting the work in, because we've seen the work that Giannis has put in and how far his offensive game has come. I think Simmons has to be on a team where either he's surrounded with a lot of shooters or he can play a small ball 5 like he would on the Golden State Warriors. Style stunner, stunting on the game. Do you think the Celtics will sign Lonzo Ball to replace Kemba Walker this offseason? Lonzo Ball also going to be a restricted free agent. He's going to demand a lot of money. Lonzo's coming off a career year. He improved dramatically from distance. He was hovering right around 40%. A lot of people were saying when he came into the league that his shot was broken. He can't be a consistent three-point shooter. He's somewhat limited. Got much better in that regard. His field goal percentage not all that good, but he took up a lot of shots and chucked up a lot of shots from distance and fared pretty well. I thought this was the best year of his career during some challenging circumstances, because Stan Van Gundy toward the end of the year was often experimenting with Zion Williamson as the point guard, which meant that Lonzo Ball was on the wing for a lot of his time there. I think if he goes somewhere at 6'6", with the vision that he has, especially in the open floor, where he can be a true point guard, he'd be very good. And I think he'd be an awesome addition on the Celtics, because he wouldn't have to do much offensively. Just dish it out to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, all of those guys kind of different players, and let Lonzo just be the main creator. I hope you all love what we're doing here at Chat Sports, because I certainly love my job here at Chat Sports, and I want to continue to work here. So help us out, get us to 250,000 subscribers, because if we don't in the next couple of days, I might disappear and vanish, like some characters on Breaking Bad, which a lot of us are rewatching here at Chat Sports. So either hit that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/chatsportstv, subscribe us, and join our live NBA mailbags where we answer all of your NBA-related questions right here on the show. NOLA Pelicans Fan. He's always watching us here at Chat Sports. What should the Pelicans do this offseason to get to the playoffs? The playoffs this year, they should certainly get there. There's a lot of talent on that roster. And I don't think it's, I don't think it's okay that they didn't make the playoffs in Zion's first 2 years. I know they were in the NBA bubble for Zion's rookie year, and he barely played. That roster was pretty talented. This past year, I think the only reason they didn't make it is because they had a coach who wasn't cut out for the job in Stan Van Gundy. Didn't like that hiring at all. They needed to go with somebody younger to gel with the locker room, gel with that young roster. They finally have that with Willie Green. That's one offseason priority. If they keep this roster intact, I like the coach. You got Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson. It's a pretty solid team. Blinky, what do you think Jalen Suggs' ceiling is, and do you think the Raptors can pull off a Dame trade? I don't know if the Raptors can pull off a Dame trade, because who would they give up? I mean, they send in Gary Trent back to Portland in addition to Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby with maybe the number 4 pick. Maybe that gets it done. I still think that the price would have to be a little bit steeper. As for Jalen Suggs' ceiling, my comp for him is a guy like Jason Kidd. I think he's not going to be necessarily the best prospect in the 2021 NBA draft class. I do think he could have the biggest impact right away and be in the league the longest. Olympics, not far off in the distance. USA is struggling. They've already lost a couple of exhibition games so far. Who will win gold in the Olympics? I know we have an international audience here at Chat Sports. Shout out your country if you think they're going to compete and win gold during the Olympics. Get those predictions in the comment section. Let's get to this mailbag from Mahar Al-Barati. If I mispronounced that, I really apologize. Resign Kelly Oubre for 1 year, $20 million to Golden State and have him as an extra trade asset. I just don't see the sense in that. I could see it being a sign and trade for sure for Kelly Oubre. I think it's wild if you pay the dude $20 million, because I simply don't think that Kelly Oubre is worth that. Here's a guy who can be a good two-way player, and he's still young. He's in his mid-20s. And last year with the Warriors, I thought at times he was good. He had some nights offensively where you were like, wow. I just think he's a little bit too inconsistent from deep. And I think he's a little bit too inconsistent overall on the offensive end of the floor. And he has some lapses defensively from here and there. With the Warriors, look, you sign him at $15, $20 million. I think they're going to make other moves, which means Oubre would have to come in off the bench. You don't want to pay a bench guy $15, $20 million when you're only paying Jordan Poole $1 to $3 million over the next couple of years. Joseph Ridge, is there any way the Sixers get Dame without Thibault? If so, tell. Maybe. Ben Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, maybe a sign-in trade with like Danny Green, and then you throw in some future first-round picks. They don't really have a ton of other assets. If you want to part ways with Seth Curry, who's on one of the best deals in the NBA right now, because on open opportunities in the playoffs, he shot 90% from three. Of course, he's not Steph Curry, his brother, but he's one of the more elite shooters, and he's on the books for $8 million over the next couple of seasons. So maybe. I just think that the Blazers, if they trade away Dame, that marks the beginning of their rebuilding process, and they kind of would like Thibault in that deal to kickstart that rebuild.